What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel, not welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless your taste level is lacking. You guys, you know what? Before I get into anything, shout out to you, Lissa, because girl, that god awful red is just about gone from the locks. I'm so glad to have ginger back. Yeah. And I'm done messing with it. Y'all, before I get into today's video, let me tell y'all how Bella child, she stressed me out so bad. I thought she was dead last night. So this is the thing. I was so mad too. Like, I'm like, how are you gonna come and bring all this chaos into my life? I spent all of these resources getting you trained and us to a place where we can all coexist and be happy, and then you just gonna die. Like, the audacity to not even make it 2 years. I was a little bit upset. So let me tell you what happened. So anyway, so I'm chilling on the couch. I have a blanket over my leg, and Bella is like leaned up against my leg and she's asleep. And I look down and I see like her little tooth and her mouth is open. So I'm trying to get a picture of that because I think it's funny. So I'm like, look, she's asleep with her mouth open. And then as I'm getting ready to like text the picture to my sisters, I look down again and her eyes are like she's moved a little bit and her eyes are like wide open. Like, I'm gonna put a picture of the moment I took the picture, but her eyes were a little bit more open than this. Like, they were like bucked. So she's looking like this. And I'm like, I like shake my leg and I'm like, Bella. I call her name. I don't want to call her name. Now I'm trying, Lord knows I'm not trying to summon her right now. So I say her name and then she does not move. And I nudge her again and say her name again. No movement. And then she does that like that little Frenchy deep sigh thing they do. It's a weird little, I don't know, it's weird. So she does that and I'm like, this effort's still alive. But before I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, she's dead. Like, what was it? Was it a heart attack? And I'm laughing now, but in the moment, it was not funny because I was like, did she have a heart attack? Like, why is she looking like that? Like, what happened? Like, why would she just die? So I'm glad she wasn't dead for real. It made me realize, like, that's my girl. I don't want her to die. That's my girl or whatever. I was very frightened for like 2.3 seconds. That was a long time. Honestly, she's so chaotic. Her dying would just be so on brand. Like, that would have just been her like final chaotic boom last moment. Like, I just don't even put it past her. She's capable. Quite as Bella probably did run on up to the pearly gates and saw her name wasn't on the list, and she decided to come on back so she can score her some more, Jesus points. And then she just came back too. I think that probably is what happened. They say all dogs go to heaven, baby. But if there were to be one who was not on the list, it would for sure be y'all's niece, Bella Marie. All right, that's enough. I don't have no blue updates. I'm trying not to say their name. I need to hush because I'm convinced that they think this is a us thing. Like, this is a group thing. This is our channel. So it's like, I promise, y'all, they could be. I try to take them outside to get them to release their energy, play with them, feed them, and then as soon as they get down for the nap, I'm like, yeah, this is a good time to film. Let me get out my materials, okay, my equipment. And as soon as the red dot comes on the monitor, chaos. And then if I try to give them something to chew on, they just want to gnaw right in the background. It's just always a lot. So right now, while they're in another room sleeping together, just cuddled up like the yin yang sign and out of my way, I'm about to tell y'all about this lady by the name of Nancy Brophy. Y'all probably have heard about her. I believe she has like a Lifetime movie. In the summer of 2018, writer Nancy Brophy's life takes a very unexpected and ironic turn when, after years of writing about romance that often ends in infidelity and murder, her own husband of 27 years is shot and killed at work. 63-year-old Daniel Brophy worked as a chef and a teacher at the Oregon Culinary Institute. And on the morning of his death, he was filling buckets of ice and water, preparing for the students to come to class. Now, as he is doing this at the sink, someone enters the kitchen and shoots him once in the back. Dan then falls to the ground and is shot once more in the chest at close range, both shots piercing his heart. Shortly after this, he is discovered by his students when they begin coming into class. His wallet with all of his cash and all of his credit cards is found on him, and there are no signs of a struggle, forced entry, or robbery, anything. So they have no idea what their motive could have been. But with none of his personal valuables being taken, it's pretty clear to them that this was a personal attack. But according to everyone who knows him well and all of his students, Dan is such a nice guy that they can't think of anybody who would have wanted this done to him or would have done this to him. He is seemingly well liked by all. Everyone who personally knew him seems to be deeply saddened and shocked by this. Having heard of this incident taking place at her husband's school, Nancy rushes to the school to see what is going on. She instantly breaks down upon hearing that it is her husband who was the target and unfortunately has not survived the attack. She too claims that Dan had no enemies and she doesn't have an idea of who would have wanted to hurt him. The following day, she takes to Facebook with a message to her friends and family that says, "My husband and best friend, Chef Dan Brophy, was killed yesterday morning. For those of you who are close to me and feel that this should have been a phone call, you are right, but I'm struggling to make sense of everything right now." Over the following months, investigators struggled to piece together the mystery of what had happened to Dan that morning and why. The school has absolutely no cameras, but they decide to have the traffic cameras pulled just in case they see something there that strikes them as odd. And they're not really thinking that it would turn up, much information. However, something very interesting does come up on these traffic cams. To their surprise, Nancy's Toyota minivan is seen coming down the street at the exact time that they believed this shooting to have occurred. Now, considering Nancy as a potential suspect, they do a little more digging into the couple's marriage to try and figure out what her reasoning could have been. With talking to their very close friends and loved ones, they find that the Brophies were a very loving couple. Dan often referring to her as the love of his life. The two of them were very affectionate. They had actually met while both working as instructors at the Institute, and their shared passion and appreciation for the culinary arts is what initially brought them together and really fueled their attraction for one another. And of course, after dating for some time, they eventually marry and they settle in the Portland, Oregon area. They get a nice little house. They raise some turkey and some chickens in their backyard. Really, really cute stuff. They even have a very nice little vegetable garden in the backyard that Dan will often harvest from to create Nancy these very lavish, beautiful, nice meals that she would often get on Facebook and brag about, girl. And just in the months prior to his death, the two of them had taken several romantic trips together and also had a trip coming up to visit Mount Rushmore. They genuinely do appear to be a very nice, loving couple with a happy marriage. And by all accounts, they may have been, but a look into the couple's finances reveals a potential motive for Miss Nancy. $1.5 million. Now, it is discovered that the Brophies had been facing financial hardship for quite some time now, and it began when they decided to renovate their home. After falling behind on the payments and failing to catch up, the couple had subsequently drained their retirement fund 2 whole years prior to the incident. And what also sticks out to them is, despite the couple's financial troubles, over the years, Nancy has managed to remain current on a bunch of life insurance policies that she has out on Dan, which total up to over $1,000 a month. They also realized that just days after Dan's death, she had called the lead investigator on his case and asked for a letter stating that she was not a suspect to give to the insurance companies. She explained that she needed this letter in order to collect on her policies. They had, of course, refused to give her the letter and also made a note of it because that's kind of odd, girl. kind of suspect. Feeling confident in what they've discovered so far, investigators move forward with an arrest warrant for Miss Nancy Brophy. And the arresting officers say that when they arrive, she greets them with, "You guys must think I killed my husband." Now, once they get to deep diving into her computer and her little iTunes account, they notice that she has bookmarked a website called 10 Ways to Cover Up a Murder. They also find that Nancy had written a 700-word essay titled How to Murder Your Husband, in which she outlines multiple options for getting rid of a spouse. And in this essay, she says, "I spend a lot of time thinking about murder and consequently police procedure." And that's just one of the many things that she says that strikes them as odd, because she also mentions that one thing she knows about murder is that each one of us has it in us. We just have to be pushed. That she finds it easier to just wish people dead instead of actually kill them, because she doesn't want blood and brains splattered on her wall, and she's not good at remembering lies. She says a divorce is expensive, and do you really want to split your possessions? And as for committing the act, she goes on to then say that the only drawback is police are not stupid. They are looking at you first, so you have to be very clever, organized, and ruthless. And as for guns, she writes that personally, she believes they are loud and messy, and also requires a certain skill set. And quotes, "If it takes 10 seconds for the sucker to die, either you have terrible aim or he's on drugs." What is she talking about? It is nearly 3.5 years before finally in May of 2022 her trial begins. And it had taken that long because, of course, we had to deal with the pandemic. And now her defense team argues that all the evidence that they have against her is just circumstantial. And as far as this essay that she had written, it is fiction. In it, she is not speaking as herself. She is assuming the persona of a woman who wants to ask her husband. And they say that it is merely a piece of work. She's a writer, this is what she does, and this does not prove that she did this to her own husband or had the desire to. The judge on the case actually agrees and decides that the essay must be omitted from trial. It is not allowed to be introduced to the jury in any capacity. But even without the essay, she had written a plethora of other books, all the same tales of romance, lust, and infidelity, and either the act of killing the partner or an attempt being made. And all of them have titles like The Wrong Husband, The Wrong Hero, The Wrong Partner, The Wrong Lover. And she had even written on her site that as a writer, quote, "You dig deep and unearth portions of your own life that you've long forgotten or had purposely buried deep." Now, her defense team said that this doesn't make her client guilty of anything, and this is merely an unfortunate coincidence. They argue that Nancy would never have killed Dan because of their endless love for one another. Her niece takes the stand to attest to their loving relationship. She also testifies that she personally witnessed Nancy grieving and crying, and that she shed many tears, and many a night cried upon her shoulder. Even Nancy takes the stand to speak on behalf of her marriage with her husband and the loss of him, and how it's taken this huge toll on her. She compares it to losing a limb, like there's a void there, and she always feels like it's something missing. Now, she admits that they had some financial issues, but she claims that she believes she's much better off with him alive than without him. Their situation had improved largely due to him. They had come up with a plan to get themselves out of the hole. They were preparing to sell the home that had burdened them, and she was more than happy and willing to downsize. Now, in explaining why she had taken out all of these life insurance policies on her husband, she says that over time she had worked as a salesperson for several insurance companies and have bought the policies in order to show her belief in her own product and to also earn a commission. When asked why would he have to be the person on the policy all the time, like why can't it sometimes be a policy on you, girl? She says that there were so many more on Dan because He was younger than her and he qualified for a lot more policies than she did, and oftentimes would just qualify for better rates. But of course, the prosecutors believe that to be a complete lie. And they paint Nancy as this twisted woman who romanticizes lust that ends in tragedy and had fantasized about doing this to her own lover for years and then had actually done it. They asked her about being spotted on the traffic cam around the same time as the shooting occurring, and she says that she had no memory of whatever trip she had made that morning. She, as well as a psychologist called by the defense, claimed that she had suffered retrograde amnesia from the trauma of finding out that her husband had been tragically killed. Prosecutors are quick to point out to the jury that this is not where she had claimed to be on the morning of the incident. Initially, she had told police that she had been at home all morning, laying in bed and writing, and had not been anywhere. And Miss Thing has an answer for everything, because when they ask her about the bookmarked website, she says that with the work she does, she would have to, search things like 10 ways to cover up a murder. She is a fictional romance tragedy writer. This is what she does. Which reminds me, recently I was playing like a card game with friends, and one of the cards was like, whose search engine history or search history would you be most interested in seeing? And everybody said mine, because I do this. They're like, girl, ain't no telling. And I was like, damn, sometimes I do feel like, yeah, searching this probably, if something happened, this would make me look guilty or at least weird in the public eye. Definitely guilty though. But anyway, this ain't about me. Nancy here had also been searching ghost gun kits, and ghost guns are untraceable weapons that can be bought online and assembled at home. Now, prior to the incident, Miss Thing here had spent $15K on ghost gun kits and extra parts online, as well as a 9mm. Ballistic tests do find that neither her ghost gun nor the 9mm that she had in her possession were the gun that spent the bullets found at the crime scene. However, there's a reason for that, and John Nancy is something else. They find out that she had also purchased a spare slide and barrel for a 9mm off of eBay. And so they believe that she swapped the slide and the barrel of the 9mm with the identical spares that she had bought off of eBay, used that to shoot him, and then put back the original parts. And that is why she was able to present a firearm that would not be a match to what police are looking for, which is actually very clever. Granted, they traced the purchase of the spare slide and barrel that she had purchased off of eBay. They don't ever actually recover the physical pieces. And forensic experts are never able to match these spent bullets with her gun. So it was like a smart plan, but just enough stupid in there to get her caught. We'll get to that. Now, they bring up these purchases, and according to her, she says that her husband encouraged these purchases when they had heard about a shooting that had taken place in Florida. But Dan's son from a previous marriage finds that very hard to believe. He feels like if his father was looking into purchasing a firearm, he definitely would have spoken to him, because he is an avid hunter and has been for quite some time. So why would he look into, purchasing a weapon? He has no history of an interest in firearms and has a son who knows a lot about them. It was just odd that he wouldn't reach out to him or consult with him about it. Now, Miss Nancy's neighbor also has some very interesting pennies to add to the pot. The neighbor said that they did not consider her to have a normal reaction to everything that was going on. She never showed any signs of being sad about it, angry about it. It was almost that she had this air of relief about her. She seemed a lot more easygoing and happy every time that they'd seen her. And in one instance, they recall asking her if the police had been in contact with her with any updates as far as who had done this. And she said, no, I'm a suspect. She was completely serious, completely unfazed, and emotionless, and was this way every time she spoke about her late husband. One of Nancy's previous cellmates comes to testify. And let me tell you something. If you ever locked up waiting on trial, don't talk about your case to your cellmates. They be waiting on the T so they can shorten their sentence. Why am I helping y'all out? Anyway, one of Nancy's cellmates comes to testify that Nancy had, in a very detailed manner, explained to her what had happened to Dan, even acting it out to show her the distance in which he was shot and the way in which he had fallen. At the end of her trial, 71-year-old Nancy Brophy is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, eligible for parole after serving 25 years of her sentence at the tender age of 96 or 97, depends on if it's before or after her birthday. Which, by the way, her birthday was June 16th. Not it being her season right now. Shout out to the Cancers, one of y'all people. Now, her life has since been made into a Lifetime movie. It definitely gives Lifetime. The movie is called How to Murder Your Husband, the Nancy Brophy Story. Also very Lifetime, no shade. And what is really, really sad is that Dan's son also testified that he never witnessed any turmoil in their relationship, that he felt like his stepmother and his dad had a very loving, genuinely good marriage, which leads me to believe that they really did. Like, Dan really probably was in love, didn't see this coming. And yeah, she valued her financial freedom over his life and their marriage together, and child saw her way out. That is very sad. All right, that is the end of today's story. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I didn't want to do too much with the makeup, and I'm surprised that I stuck with that because I definitely thought it was gonna go left. Shout out to me for sticking to the script. I definitely didn't want to overgive in the license picture. I just don't want all that on my photo. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Like this video if you have not, subscribe if you have not. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. And y'all, I think the next one is going to be Thursday. Look at me, spirit fingers. Feeling good. Shout out to Lexapro. Okay, let me get out of here so I can go take this license picture, y'all. Peace. I feel like my locks look so cute in person, and then like on the camera it's just giving not what it's giving in person. I don't know. Chaos. Like it's chaotic. Chaotic. I was trying to say chaos and chaotic. Chaotic. And yeah. Did I tell y'all Poppy was back? Yeah. Yeah. Chaos. Look at me know how to say chaos. Not the police on the way. Could it be that you are here for me? They had known him personally. No. Having heard of the incident, okay, yeah, girl. Okay, cool. They also have a very nice vegetable and fruit garden in the. Is it a fruit garden? It's not a fruit garden. Is it fruit? When it's fruit, is it an orchard? Is it just for apples? Huge orchard. Yard that Dan would also. And also had a summer trip coming up to go to Round Mushmore. I was about to say Round Mushmore. My goodness. And the two of them actually had a trip. Actually had a trip coming up to. I was about to say Round Mushmore again. Why is it just so much easier to say? Nancy has managed to keep up with the payments of over 100. What? She also testifies that she girl, I can't talk. Do I want to put lashes on or not? I just always gotta be extra. I feel like I need either lashes or at least liner. I think lashes is too much, but a little bit of liner. A little bit of liner, yeah. Not too much.